I'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. Public for which is roll call, please. Trustee Alexander. Trustee Nugent. Here. Trustee Johnson. Here. Trustee Minucci.
Here.
Trustee Smalley. Here. Trustee was. Thank you. In the absence of the village president, I'll ask for a motion to appoint a chairperson.
I'll make a motion to appoint Beth Johnson as chairperson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Citizen participation per Village Resolution 2017-01. Anyone wishing to address the village board during citizen participation will be allowed 5 minutes. Your subject can be anything, whether on the agenda or not. The village board should not engage in a discussion regarding comments because it was not part of the publicly noticed agenda. Upon conclusion of this citizen participation segment, members of the audience are not allowed further comment unless they are participating in a public hearing or if specifically allowed by a majority vote of the village board due to an involvement in an agenda item. That said, would anybody like to citizen participation? State your name and address, please. Oh, and I'd remind everybody we do have people on remote and streaming to YouTube, so please try to use your mics.
Press a button, please.
There we go. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Steve Cool. I live at 2905 North Shore Drive here in East Troy. And I'm here to talk, say a few words about the dam project. We notice things are going on. The people who live around the lake area, so we see that there's some progress being made in terms of the plans and the like. And I guess I just wanted to remind the board of the things that Matt and Joyce Reed and I and the rest of the neighbors in some ways have been talking about to keep in mind as that project goes forward. And one of them is, as you can see on the screen before you, the idea that was presented about moving the stream north. And I know that there needs to be a change order for that to happen. And for that to happen, I know there needs to be a lot of research work done through Lynch Associates and the like. And so I guess one of our hopes when you do the report of the dam project and so forth is, where's the title research going? How is that going, coming along? And I know Lynch was going to be doing some engineering studies on moving the stream northward. I guess if we have any results coming back on that, we'd like to hear how that is going. And to remind you, too, of the advantages that we see for moving it north. We think it eliminates a lot of problems and issues with regard to storm sewers and so forth, getting rid of the rock falls that are in the present plan. It should provide a more scenic look for the residents as well as those who are driving by. Hopefully, we think that it'll give the village itself a lot more land that's accessible to it for parks and recreation or other kinds of use. So we think there's a lot of advantages to the village as well. We also think that in terms of maintenance, it'll solve some long-term maintenance problems as well, especially if the residents are owning the land on the north side of the stream, and that's the storm sewer piping actually goes into to the stream itself, so there's no rock falls or anything like that. And of course, the legal issue of the rock falls, that they cannot be on private property, at least as we understand that. So I just want to remind the board that we are very interested, the residents, in that kind of approach to doing the impoundment renovation. And when that time comes, as you're proceeding with the project, you need to make a change order. We're hoping that a change order will be made that will be able to make the present plan look more like the plan of moving the stream north and the like. So, just basically, kind of a reminder and to let you know that, we appreciate, working with you, working with Matt, and we're hoping that, the project goes forward in a way that everybody's, concerns and advantages can be met. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody else for citizen participation?
Hi, my name is Trisha Ide. I live at 2938 Elm Street in the village. I'm actually here tonight because I wanted to address the village board and share my personal experience about the crosswalk on Highway 50 and Bird Street, which is set as one of the agenda items for tonight.
Did you say 50 or 20?
Or 20, sorry, yes, 20. Excuse me. My son was actually a student at St. Paul's for 2 years. During that time frame, I drove him to school every morning and picked him up in the afternoons every day. During that time frame, I stopped at the crosswalk there numerous times because there was another family that actually walks their children to and from school there. And I can't tell you how many times I would stop at that crosswalk and people would fly by me, blow their horn, flip me off. They didn't understand why I was stopped there. And that's really alarming. I did actually call the police twice during that time frame, and I don't think anything was done because I was never called to testify or anything like that. So I did talk to Lori Biersack, who was unable to be here tonight, but she did write you all a letter. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I was in agreement with a lot of what she said in her letter. Slowing the speed limit there, school zone speed limits are supposed to be, I believe, 15 miles per hour when children are present. Knowing that that crosswalk is right at the top of that hill, I think is a major issue as well. A lot of people don't see the crosswalk up there. So flashing lights to alert drivers that that crosswalk is there. I think there's been a little bit of discussion on that, but I'm totally in favor of that. Rumble strips as well, possibly, or maybe little speed bumps, like down by Booth Lake when we can. Obviously, you can't really during winter because of the snowplows. And then better lighting down there, too. I know when I walk at night, I walk 5 miles each night during the summer, and I walk down Burn Street, and there is a light there, but it's not very bright. So a lot of the times I'm standing and kind of peeking out to make sure I can cross. And then Lori and I discussed also possibly moving the crosswalk down a little bit to the other intersection by Sterling Circle subdivision. I'm not sure if it's possible to actually move it, and I wouldn't want to get rid of the crosswalk that's there, I guess, necessarily, but maybe installing another one where that median gives people kind of a resting point, so you're not running across 4 lanes of highway, if that makes sense. So that's all I have for tonight, and I just wanted to thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else for citizen participation? Going once, going twice. Okay, we will close citizen participation. Move on to consent agenda. One motion and a second. We'll approve all the following items. Any item may be pulled from the list and voted on separately.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to miscellaneous business. Item number 1, discussion/verbal update regarding concerns related to crosswalk on Highway 20 and Burn Street. Jason?
Okay, so, obviously everybody's saw the letter, that we received Friday. So I guess let's look at it in 2 ways. So with our 2019 sidewalk project, we had added provisions in there to add a flashing crosswalk sign at the crosswalk across North Street at Burn Street. We added sidewalk ramps on each side where they didn't exist prior to that project. But now that the sidewalk runs up Burn Street, it kind of leads itself to that crosswalk. And as we all know, that project didn't finish well, and the contractor did not install the flashing lights. So we did purchase, Public Works purchased the lights, and we had planned on installing them in the fall of 2021. We went to do that and realized there's a conflict with where the pole has to go on the north side of the road with a large diameter gas line. So that didn't happen in fall, and the intent at this point would be I'm going to have to work with We Energy to see if we can even do it, or if a relocation would have to happen of the gas line. And if that has to happen, it will be a pricey one because it is a large diameter pipe. So on Friday, I reached out to the DOT to just kind of get an update on our project, the upcoming Highway 20 reconstruction, and talk about pedestrian accommodations. And so one thing I did learn Friday is one of the goals with this project is to cut that hill down a little bit, a couple of feet. So if you're coming eastbound on Highway 20 towards Burn Street, there's a real visibility issue. You're down in that hole, and then as you come to the top, that's where that crosswalk is that we're all talking about. So the state plans to cut that down to help with that line of sight when you're eastbound. And which I think will help. I don't know that that's the ultimate answer. And the other thing, remember here, is we are adding sidewalk on both the north side and the south side of Highway 20 from Edwards Street all the way to the intersection of ES and 20. So what the state is looking at is they are currently proposing the crosswalk at Edwards, which we currently have one there, and then one at Sterling Circle. And then potentially eliminating the crosswalk we're talking about tonight at Burn Street, is to just kind of eliminate one there. It takes the crosswalk and puts it in a better line of sight on both ends. And now again, remember, you'll have sidewalk on both sides to be able, where we don't today, to get to the various crosswalks. Unfortunately, that doesn't solve our problem right here, right now, that we're talking about, but I think long term, that's probably a better solution, is to actually eliminate the crosswalk at Burn Street. I don't know what your thoughts on that are. I'm still looking to try to get these lights installed. It'll take me some time to get some answers back from We Energies on that, whether that can happen or not.
Jason, you mentioned that the DOT, they were going to cut the hill. What was the date of their expected start date?
So I asked for an update on that as well Friday. So at this point, the plan is to let it for bid in September of 2023 with a construction window of March 2024 to October of 2025.
And I guess my question is was there discussion or in the plan about having a crosswalk down by Highway ES?
There will be crosswalks at the intersection, yes, of ES and 20.
So would you recap that there'd be crosswalks at ES and 20? Then how far going west?
So let me just back up here too. DOT leaves the location of the crosswalks up to the local municipalities. So we're basically in charge of where we want to see the crosswalks. Obviously, they're not going to let us put one in an area they don't feel it's safe, but we can take the lead on where the crosswalks. So currently, where the plans are today, there would be a crosswalk at Edward Street, then to the east at Sterling Circle, and then to the east at ES and 20. And again, there'll be sidewalk on both sides of the street where there is not today.
So at Sterling Circle, are we gonna run into any issues with gas main there, or can we put flashers, do we know?
That's something that would have to be figured out in design. The other thing too I want to point out, so basically from Edward Street almost to the railroad tracks, it's currently a 4-lane road, and that's going to go down to a a three-lane road, what they call a twiddle. It's a two-way left turn lane. The center lane is a bidirectional left turn, and then there's a lane of traffic on each side of that. So today, what's a four-lane today is going to go down to a three-lane, which is what's going to narrow the road up and allow for the pedestrian accommodations. So where the trees are, where the grass medians are, that's going to maintain a four lane. So, but to answer your question, I don't know the answer to that, and we won't know until we get into design.
So 4-lane from Sterling east.
Correct.
Can I ask one other question, Jason? Is it true, though, that we have to get permission from the state to put these crosses in, or no?
We already have permission and a permit to do it. We had it with the 2019 sidewalk project.
I understand. I guess the point I'm making is that if we don't have permission, we just can't throw one in.
Correct. And I did ask, if we decided, to get these installed now, what happens when the project comes along? And DOT has said, well, we'll pay to relocate them in the same location if they're existing. They're not going to pay to put them in today or during the project, but if we install them now and then we come along and do their project in a few years, they would pay to reinstall them in the same location, not into a different location, but.
We do have comments from the person who asked this to be put on the agenda, so I guess do we want to, somebody have a motion to allow, she's on Zoom, to allow her to speak?
I'll make a motion, we allow the party to speak.
All's in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Hey, Lori, I've, unmuted you. You should be able to speak now.
Okay, I do think a lot of the things that you're talking about sound very good. Excuse me. Cutting down the hill or moving the crosswalk to the Sterling Circle subdivision, my concern would be timing and what we can do to increase safety at this very moment, particularly because it is a school crossing. And I know many of the parents who walk their kids across the street feel like they're taking their life into their own hands, trying to get across. So I appreciate that you're trying to get things done, but I'm wondering what we can do immediately to make it safer, whether it's hiring a crosswalk or having a better police presence, monitoring the speed there. There are just so many factors that make it almost deadly. Like, I do not feel like it is safe to cross from the north to the south at any point in time because it's the 4 lanes and people are going too fast.
Jason, is there an overhead light that we can put in there? I understand we wouldn't put a pole in there due to gas main issue. Is there, I've seen overhead string lights with flashing yellow. Is that an opportunity?
It is a possibility. It's going to come with an additional cost, but I mean, yeah, I would say that we'll have to go back again through the permitting process. But I'd say it's an option.
Is that something we can look into for our next meeting and maybe come up with an idea of what cost would be? I know I also said something to Jeremy about putting a self-monitoring speed light up out there, or
It tells you you're speeding, the numbers.
Exactly, yeah, and I know ours isn't operational at this time, and I don't know if you looked into that at all, Jeremy.
I haven't had a chance to look in, but like I said, when that year that I told you that we purchased the one that we had, around $4,000, so doubled by now. I'd have to look into it a little.
Jason, I guess 2 questions I had. And the fact that it's a school, I drive through there most mornings. There's not a sign up that says school zone like there is over by the public schools. So do we need to, just minimum look at some better signage about it being a school zone?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if you have any.
I think we'd have to contact the state because it's a state highway. See if we can get permission to flare it school zone. Also, you know, with changing the speed, isn't something that we can do as a, have to come from the state. They're gonna do a study before they change anything, and I know my officers have, I was looking at it when I came in today, and on Friday I put out another email and requested them to do more radar right at that intersection, and I did, went up there 3 times today for probably about a total of an hour, 3 times, and I got 1 vehicle that was. I know that she said in her letter between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. is when it's safest, so that's when I'm doing it during first shift, so maybe it's not as violent at that time. So my officers have been trying to get up there as much as possible.
Yeah, so I think, you know, if we could look at whatever, you know, the flashing lights, whatever signage with the state that we can do, and I guess my other concern is now, maybe I was misremembering, but I thought we were doing design work this year with construction starting next year. It sounds like we're out yet another year.
That was the update that I received Friday. Is we're doing our design this year of work. State's doing theirs currently, and for a let in next 23, fall of 23 for a 24 construction.
And was that due to budgetary reasons, or I guess my concern is that the last time we went through this was because of a design issue, that they didn't have the right, you know, section, and then it became a biennial budget issue because the zoo interchange in Milwaukee was more important, and so now I just feel like overall we're kicking the can down the road on the project as a whole.
Yeah, so I've heard some DOT projects are actually being accelerated, but apparently this is not one of them.
I remember back when Matt first was really, you were getting on the case of this, we'll start in 2022, is what they said.
Yeah, and then it became 2023. Well, originally it was 2030. Then that's when I got upset. And then it was 2022. Then it was 2023. And then now all of a sudden it's 2024 into 2025, which, okay, you're going to shave a hill. I guess that's going to take some time, but
well, and I think that's the window they're giving bidders, right? So you can bid on this, you just got to have it done between spring of 24 and October of 25, which is a big window, but, you know, I don't know if that's in hopes of better bids or what, but.
Yeah, I mean, if at the next meeting or the second meeting in February, we can have something back to Jason's point on what are our options right now, given the state's timeline. I know you got to hear back from We Energies, but I mean, you know, if we've got to have somebody stand out there in the mornings or something and just crossing guard, but yeah, I do see almost every morning there's a father walking his 2 kids across there, and I've had the same experience where I've slowed down and people drive by me like, you know, I'm crazy.
I agree to Jason's point also. Smalley's point also, Jason. Could you maybe figure out what a cost of a temporary setup would be for poles and to string for the flashing crossings, so that it won't be a permanent setup? You know, we can put it up until such time as the Highway 20 work is done, and then they can do the permanent setup.
Yeah, I'll take a look into what options we have. Obviously, we have to do whatever the state, you know, lets us do.
Lori, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yes, I had done some traveling back and forth trying to look at signage there, and from what I remember and noticed is that there is some school signage coming from the west if you're eastbound, but there isn't any coming from the east westbound, which seemed odd. There's a school sign talking about a school zone. It shows a crosswalk coming up, but coming, say, from the Dollar General, McDonald's, there isn't any of that. So I think that would be helpful. And if there was even something marked on the street, and I don't know, can anybody answer that? I think maybe it's even written on the road, but not on the other side. This I did several months ago. And,
So Laurie, I'm looking at Google Maps Street View, and you're right.
Oh,
I'm looking
yeah.
eastbound, so I'm going towards the, you know, I'm headed eastbound there. There is a school, speed limit 15 on a telephone pole right next to a driveway on the right-hand side. It's just tucked back there. People are, and I didn't even remember it was there, clearly. So, but yeah, I don't think there is anything on the, coming from Dollar General going westbound. So, yeah, and maybe that's and that's a good distance back, maybe just that's where the flashing light, if you put it right at the crosswalk. I know what we have like in Division Street and what we put over there by Gus's, it's a push the button. But maybe it's just something that is set up on a timer, like, hey, between, 7:45 and 8:30 or whatever, it flashes to say, hey, it's a school zone.
That's an
I'll
excellent
bring back
idea.
some options.
Any other questions or discussions? Okay. Moving on to item number 2, consideration of vacant land purchase agreement with, I'm not going to even try, East Troy LLC. Q East Troy LLC.
Okay, so this is an offer to purchase, actually, similar to one that the board saw during its last meeting. They've since set up a separate entity, and they've got their lawyer involved, and he has a form that he prefers to use, and frankly, I like it as well. So they wrote up a new offer to purchase. It's the same concept, though, as what you guys looked at last time. Basically, the substance of the deal is we're all rolled over to a development agreement that's got to be negotiated sometime before March. If the development agreement's not negotiated, then the development agreement is where all the actual nuts and bolts of. Otherwise, it's similar to the development deals that the village has done in the past. The village is selling it as is. Closing costs would be the buyers. Offer, we don't.
Can you pronounce the name for me?
I can't pronounce it. Maybe Eileen can. I can't.
But that is the,
Cornwall?
ownership's last name, so.
Cornwall? Cornwall.
There we go.
Which property is this in the?
This would be a new one. This would be towards the front of the business park, between 7.5 and 8.5 acres roughly.
Directly south of the
pond.
retention pond.
Mm-hmm. Is this the one they were going to take care of the retention pond too?
That's to be worked out in the development agreement, but that's what we're hoping.
I'm gonna move that we approve the vacant land purchase agreement with Cornwall, East Troy LLC, subject to.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Oh, one thing, Attorney Gary, did we want to mention that those dates in there are?
Oh, sure.
Are modified?
Yeah, that's a good point. We actually did get a signed copy of the offer to purchase back this afternoon, from the purchaser, and the only thing that had changed from the version of the agreement that you guys have in your packet is that there's 2 dates that are pushed back, one being the date of the agreement itself and one being the date by which everybody has to accept it.
Okay, next item, consideration of change order number 1 for multi-use trail project to modify the completion date. Jason?
Okay, so this is a change order for Phase 1 of the multi-use trail, just essentially looking to change the date for the substantial completion out to May 15th of this year. The contractor provided that date, so there's no reason they shouldn't be able to finish by then. Then there's no monetary value to this change order.
Motion to approve.
Any other discussion?
So they found them, eh?
The contractor? Yes, he did return a phone call finally.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, consideration of general property and liability insurance renewal. Eileen?
Okay, so, I provided the board a memo. Unfortunately, this year we're seeing double-digit increases in our general property and liability. Double-digit increases last year as well. So we are presenting 2 options. The first option is the exact same coverage as what we had in 2021. The second option would result in a savings of almost $6,000. It does increase some of the bills. I support the increase in deductibles. I don't think that they're exorbitant deductibles by any means. Sometimes I look at like the claims that we would file, and I don't think we would file a claim for $15 $1,000 deductible. So to me, that's logical. I wanted to remind the board that we did ask the agent last year to go to market on our coverage. We've had very positive experiences with EMC and lower increases, you know, in the prior years preceding last year. And we had some difficulties with that were encountered going to market. Police and fire coverage is very difficult to obtain now. There's some carriers who are not even writing new policies with police and fire. And she's been warning me about this, that this has been a trend. Also, workman's comp has been a difficult coverage as well. So I did ask them to, again, go to market next year just because I want to know that we're remaining competitive with our premiums. So I just want the board to be assured that we are monitoring that and looking at other options. I also spoke with Kathy in our office about looking at other. I think the league does offer some insurance options, so. As a general review, our workman's comp rating is our mod factor is 0.79. Lowest we could get is 0.72, so we're still under an excellent mod factor for workman's comp. The property values had increased by $5 million. We have not been adjusted for our replacement value for properties in several years, so that's the largest contributor to that increase. Our equipment has increased based on new acquisitions. And then cyber liability is one that we are seeing astronomical increases, not necessarily dollar-wise because it's not a huge premium compared to some other policies, but large increases in government sectors getting hit hard because of ransomware issues that we're seeing. She said she was actually very happy to see that we got quoted on cyber liability. That means we have the proper security measures in place because she said they're seeing. So the renewal is over budget. That is spread out amongst many different accounts and different funds. If necessary, we can do amendments later this year. And I have a breakdown of what that overage is. So as a recap, those deductibles are increasing. The deductibles from $1,000 in property in the open, automobile, and law enforcement to $2,500 for property in the open and law enforcement, and $3,000 for automobile. The attachments. So my recommendation would be to renew with option 2. Policies are effective February 1st. 48.
I have one question, and I'm just curious. Now that we've added some fire department personnel on as employees, does that affect the insurance rates at all?
Your workman's comp premium is going to be higher. Fire district is reimbursing us for that difference. That's in their agreement.
I was also thinking about anything about liability or anything like that.
It won't affect our liability insurance. They're carrying their own liability insurance, but workman's comp definitely is affected because our payroll will go up.
What about jointly owned equipment? Is that cost being spread out?
Yes, we have in that agreement that we bill the towns.
I'll move to approve option 2 with regard to the deductibles for your memo, Eileen, of January 13th.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to reports, 2021 Annual Fuel Farm Flowage Report. Any questions for Lori or me? I will tell you that, discussed back in December with Walter, there was, for some reason, I don't remember now which fuel, but Burlington went $1 higher for some reason, and so there was one on fuel for us here, and we actually went out. All right, item number 2, December financial reports. Any questions for Eileen? All right, item 3, draft plan commission minutes. Any questions for 40 from last week? I guess when will we get the comprehensive plan changes?
That is, slated for the February 21st meeting, the public hearing at that meeting.
All right. Administrators report, third and fourth quarter, 2021. Questions for Eileen? Like you're busy? Everybody's busy?
Lori with the taxes? Lori with the taxes? Taxes, taxes, more taxes.
Minor detail. Item 5, Police Department report, fourth quarter. Any questions for Chief? Item 6, Library Board minutes from December. Any questions for Mary? 7, Parks and Rec. Any questions? Is it, Jason, is that you?
I wasn't there.
I had a question for Jason. This was on the water, you said? Oh, I'm sorry.
This is Park and Rec. All right. Water model update. Now you can ask the other Jason.
Jason, I'm sorry I forgot to ask you this afternoon. Your water model update. I was looking at this, and I know that we made an effort to make sure that we crossed under I-43, another spot in the business park, so that the one water tower would not be cut off from the village if one of the mains failed. Correct?
Yep, so you're referring to the loop we did
Yes.
off the end of the TID 3 Business Park to
Yes.
Buell Drive.
Now, my question is that still the only crossing that we have?
So we do have a line that runs up or down Highway 120 as well. So we essentially have two.
Right, we have one down 120 and one under the freeway.
They both go under the freeway, one under the bridge and the other under.
Well, yeah, one they had to bore pretty good under, yeah. So, but that's all we got, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Good. Anything else on that? Last one, W Director's third and fourth quarter report. We'll finally get the ALP meeting scheduled.
We did hold a virtual meeting, yes. And just so the board's aware, we are looking to get the ALP airport layout plan updated in 2022. It's kind of our path to various projects and funding with the BOA. So I will be coming to you guys for input on that. And obviously, we'll be talking with the Airport Advisory Committee as well, and getting different ideas and seeing what we see the future of the airport as. It's there. I don't know.
Just had to check. Okay, anything else? Okay. I will make a motion to move into closed session and pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1985-1G to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation which is likely to become involved. Notice of claim from the lofts of Honey Creek LLC and 1985-1E to conduct other specified public business whenever competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session, police union agreement offered to purchase TID 4, and 1985-1C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, Department of Public Works. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Alexander. Yes. Trustee Johnson. Yes. Trustee Nugent. Yes. Trustee Renucci.
Yes.
Trustee Smalley. Yes. Trustee Wisniewski. Yes. Thank you.